Hello chess friends and welcome to Jozarov chess channel and welcome to the TCEC season 24 Superfinal between the two top engines Stockfish 15 and the Leela0. So as I'm recording this video, believe me or not, it's a whole different story this new TCEC season because Leela0 is now in the lead. Leela0 has 1 point more than Stockfish 15 in the Superfinal. The basic problem already happened in the first rounds of this Superfinal because Leela0 won the game in the center game in the so-called Thoresen attack, then eventually managed to get a draw in the same reversed opening. So Leela0 won the first game with the white pieces, but then defended the same position with the black pieces and took the lead. Then afterwards Leela0 won again a new game. Then Stockfish again won the reverse game, but then they played 3 draws. So after 7 rounds, Leela0 has now the whole point more than Stockfish 15, which is really incredible. I think we have to have this competition, a better competition between these two top engines, because it has been really just a pure domination recently by Stockfish 15. Stockfish destroyed Leela0 in any super final. In some of this previous TCEC seasons, Leela0 didn't even play the super final, so now it's a different story. Leela can maybe even win the new TCEC competition. So let's see now one beautiful game from the super event. It's Leela0 with the white pieces against Stockfish in a beautiful Najdorf Sicilian in the so-called English attack. Pay good attention. This is, I think, brilliant chess opening theory, especially in a beautiful opening like the Najdorf, because the Najdorf is of course one of the sharpest Sicilians that you can play. So let's see now what happened. Leela0 with the white pieces opened with the move e4. We have c5 by Stockfish 15, knight to f3, d6, d4, c takes d4, knight to d4, knight to f6. Modern ideas here. Knight to c3 now. After move a6, we have now the Najdorf Sicilian. f3, we have done this preparation to launch this flank attack with g4, h4. We have now e6, the chevening structure, and now after bishop to e3, we have now this English attack, b5, queen to d2, bishop to b7, and now I see with the move g4, we're announcing here already a beautiful kingside attack. On the other hand, of course, black is having here a beautiful queenside attack. In the game h6 by Stockfish, preventing the move g5, queenside castling, knight from b to d7, so still this is standard theory of the Najdorf Sicilian. We have h4, b4, attacking now the knight on c3, and many things have been played now in chess history. There is one beautiful game between Anand and Kasparov in which Kasparov destroyed Anand with the black pieces in this particular position. Anand played the slightly passive knight to b1, which is in my opinion not the best of continuations that you can play. Knight to a4 is sort of a better idea maybe here to play, but the downside is of course that for move queen to a5 that attacks the knight on a4, you have to weaken further your structure with the move b3. After move b3, notice that there are new problems in the position. You have the c3 weakness, a3 weakness, b2 weakness, so you have several dark square problems, although your knight is now much more active, of course, instead of this passive move knight to b1. So in the game knight to c5 played by Stockfish, so you see you have also now already problems what to do with your knight on a4. Now the main line is a beautiful a3 move, which is a direct threat against the queen. You cannot pick up, of course, the pawn because the queen is hanging on this diagonal. In the game knight takes a4 was played by Stockfish. We have now a takes b4, hitting the queen first. The queen has to step back, and now after move b takes a4, we have now a new situation in which, of course, the pieces were traded and Stockfish lost 1 pawn in this tactical sequence. But I kind of like also here black's position because, okay, you lost a pawn, but at least you have some attacking chances. Notice that the pawn on b4 and the pawn on a4 are already exposed. You have already attacked, you have already exposed your pawns too much, and you have left now a little bit your opponent some spaces, especially in the third rank. If you can notice, there are several squares that of course your opponent can attack now. So although black lost now 1 pawn, still I think we have some attacking chances. On the c file we have also with d5 some attacking chances to include the bishop into the game. Maybe we can also reroute the knight somewhere more active here on this position. So as I said, all of these pawns are attacking here a little bit the queen side, but they're also creating some spaces here in front of the king that of course black could use now in the continuation of the game. So it's a wild line. It's about, I think it's simply playable now for both sides. So in the game d5, now comes this aggressive method by black. Black wants to get some new attackers into the game, especially here around the square b4. So in the game e5, this move has been played many times. Queen to e5, of course, is not working. Bishop to f4 simply traps the queen. So after move e5, knight to d7, we have now the move f4. So you see, white is continuing the pressure on the king side. Black still has this great chances, of course, on the c file. So in the game knight to b6, the knight is now controlling very important squares. Is, you see, you have your pawns exposed too much. Now they're becoming weaknesses. They're becoming objects of black's attack. The pawn on a4 is now a weakness, but also the square on c4 is now huge positional problem. So now Stockfish is trying to get this knight on this beautiful square. So in the game rook to h3, and this is the way to go. This is a beautiful move by Leela.0. This move has been played also many times in chess history. Rook to h3. Not that this rook is only protecting the third rank. It's of course useful to shift the rook all over the third rank, but I think the rook is very active also as a potential attacker on the g file, because maybe if black castles too early, then you can play rook to g3, maybe then play h5, g5, continuing the pressure simply on the g file, and of course have some great attacking chances. So in the game, Stockfish played an interesting bishop to c8, and this move has been also played in chess history. In my opinion, it's a solid move. It's maybe even better than some other moves that have been played in chess history. Knight to a4, knight to c4 have been played, but this move, bishop to c8, is controlling further the e6 square, because in the next couple moves we can really expect the move f5, and f5 is of course letting the center explode. So I like this defensive approach by Stockfish. First play bishop to c8. In one also beautiful game between Kasparov and Topalov, Topalov played here immediately knight to c4. Garry Kasparov also won the game, so it was also very interesting and spectacular game. But as I said, you can be the judge. Knight to c4, maybe bishop to c8. You can also play, of course, knight to a4, but it leads still into complications, because first you have to play bishop to g1 or maybe bishop to f2. You have to first control the c file. You have to first control the c3 square, and now, for instance, if your opponent steps back, then we have this fun with the move f5, and it could be already very dangerous for black. For instance, you pick up the pawn, then of course you're getting destroyed on the e file. So I think it's a one-way ticket here, only in white's favor. So you have to be careful. Should you take the pawn on a4? Should you get your knight on c4? Should you protect first the e6 square? In this particular game, Stockfish decided to first protect this e6 square, and then eventually to hop with the knight on c4. So in the game, bishop to f2, again controlling the third rank. Bishop to f2 or bishop to g1, of course, are the main defensive ideas here. So bishop to d7, attacking also the pawn on a4. We have now f5 anyway by Leela.0. Knight to c4, queen to c3, and after bishop to e7, here Stockfish finally wants to secure the king by castling, but now Leela makes a huge decision. Bishop to c4, after queen to c4, queen to c4, d takes c4. Now we can say, okay, black has the bishop pair, but without the queens, I think this is not so dangerous anymore. In my opinion, Stockfish should have avoided simply this trades of queens. Look at this. Still, white is up a pawn. Okay, you have the bishop pair, but I think this is not the dangerous attack anymore against white's king. White's king is perfectly fine. White's king is secured, and now you see with the move rook to c3, Stockfish got challenged. The pawn on c4 is weak. This pawn is weak, so too many pawn weaknesses now also in Stockfish position. So in the game played, Stockfish played bishop to a4. Leela simply took. F takes e6. We have now kingside casting. If you take, of course, then this knight comes in a beautiful way into the game. You have to play something like rook to c8 to control the c7 square, but look at this. We can play rook to a3, hitting the bishop. Even if you play something like bishop to b5, we can even pick up this pawn, so it's still not working here for black. So after move f takes e6, that's why Stockfish played first kingside casting. Leela.0 attacked the bishop anyway. We have bishop to e8, protecting now the pawn on f7. e takes f7, rook to f7, hitting the bishop on f2, bishop to e1, and now after rook to f4, knight to f5, a beautiful, beautiful square for the knight. And the problem also here, a little bit in this position, you see now that actually this bishop is quite endangered here. In the game, bishop to f8 was played by Stockfish 15, and now comes a beautiful move here by Leela, rook to e3. This move is not allowing you here to pick up the pawn on g4 immediately, because look at this, after move e6, we are threatening already the move e7, trapping even the bishop. There's simply no good square for the bishop. This bishop is protecting the pawn on b4, so it's simply so messed up. You could maybe try the move g6, but look what happens. We play e7, and even if you play pick up the knight, we don't want to pick up the bishop immediately. Now, rook to d8 is simply winning the game. You have to now make a reaction here. If you pick up, of course, first this one, then we have first this idea and one of this bishops that we taken. So it's simply game over again here for black. So after move rook to e3 in the game, a5 was played. Now comes e6 anyway. A takes b4, and here Leela, believe me or not, simply trapped Stockfish bishop here, e7, and from this point on, I think the game is over already for black. In the game, bishop to e7, knight to e7 comes with a check. The king has to step back. King to b1, rook to g4, bishop to b4. Now comes this attack, but of course c3 protects everything. Everything is glued together. Everything is compact, and so white is up a whole piece. So this is of course in top engine level, simply game over. Okay, you can of course take now this pawn, but now Stockfish got challenged with this idea by Leela, rook to e5, getting the pieces on the most active square. So now of course we're trying to attack somehow maybe the 7th rank, include more attackers into the game, and somehow the main, I think, idea is to get rid of this pawn on c4 and make here a passer on the c file. So in the game, rook to h2, rook to e1, indirectly of course hitting the bishop on e8, rook to d8, rook to a5. We have rook to g2. Even if you try something like rook to d2, maybe you have some chances to deliver one check, but it's nothing spectacular. We'll simply play also rook to a7, knight to f5, maybe also hitting then afterwards maybe the pawn on g7. So in the game, rook to a5, we have rook to g2, king to a1, bishop to g6, knight to c6, rook to e8, rook takes e8, bishop to e8, and now after knight to d4, now all of these pieces are really cemented. Now, as we said, still the main plan is somehow to pick up this one and then eventually go with this passer on the c file. So in the game, bishop to g6, rook to a2, rook to g4, rook to h2, bishop to e4, and now the king is also marching towards the center of the board, towards the action, because now the king can be useful, of course, in this beautiful endgame. So king to g6, bishop to e7, king to f7, bishop to d8, rook to g1, and now the king is getting closer. And here Stockfish tried to somehow lock the king to kick away the king from the further progress. Rook to b1 really makes sense, but again then the rook is simply out of the attack on the king side. So that's why here rook to e2, attacking the bishop. The bishop has to step back, and now king to a4. Now we have rook to b7, and now comes a beautiful idea here by Leela, knight to c6. Finally getting the knight on a more active square. In the game, rook to b3, attacking now the knight, but now Leela makes a huge decision with this one, knight to e5. The problem is now, of course, you cannot get the king here to e8, because you get first knight to c4, it comes with a check, and if you pick up here the bishop on d8, then of course also the rook on b3 hangs, so it's not working. So in the game, after knight to e5, we have king to g8, bishop to a5, protecting everything, rook to b1, knight to c4, and I think mission accomplished. Finally this pawn is taken, and now the pawn on the c file can march and will probably be promoted to queen. So in the game, bishop to c6, one check, it doesn't matter. King to a3, h5, we have bishop to d8, bishop to d7, knight to e5, and after bishop to e6, now also this pawn is finally marching. c4, we have bishop to g5, rook to h1, c5, we have an attack against the bishop. Bishop steps back, rook to h1, and now c6, h4, knight to d7, now check, but now finally king is getting closer and closer to the action. Now the king is getting here, and now we have a free path for the pawn, and this should be simply game over. So in the game, bishop to c4. Even if you try something like, I don't know, rook to d1, of course you cannot push the pawn on c7 immediately, but you can of course take out this one, and this could maybe prolong the game because of this idea. But now actually also we can push simply this one after something like king to f7. We can also promote here to queen. You can promote the queen, but now the rook is coming into the game, and look at this. You can deliver maybe one check, but the king can always escape, and this is again still a completely winning game here for white. So with these two extra pieces, so this should not be a problem, of course, to win in top engine level. So in the game, after king to d8, as we said, bishop to c4. Now Leela0 simply push the pawn further. We have bishop to a6, bishop to d6. Now rook to g1. This is of course not working because after rook to a2, the bishop is attacked. Now after further attack against the bishop can never control anymore the c8 square. So now the bishop has to step back. Leela simply took it. We have h2, knight to f6, sort of an intermediate check, but it's not working here. Again, bishop to h2. Then we have rook to g7. Now simply pushing the king towards the side, and now there's simply no good defense anymore against this promotion. We have rook to f7, c8 the promotion, rook to f8, bishop to d6, and after rook to c8, in this position actually Stockfish resigned. So really wild stuff. Not sure what to say. Of course, this is still an early stage of the super final, but Leela0 is now in the lead. Who knows what will happen in the previous cup finals of the TCEC this season? Leela0 won the super final against Stockfish 15, so it's not really, I think, a pure domination now anymore by Stockfish. So we'll see what will happen. I think we'll have great games in front of us, but we'll have also dynamic super final. I think we have to have sort of an equal super final, because when one engine is simply dominating other engines, it's of course not good. Now I think this could be a very messed up game also here for Stockfish 15. So okay, I hope that you enjoyed this game. I really enjoyed it a lot. Interesting ideas in the Najdorf Sicilian for sure. If you want to see more beautiful chess games like this, check out my Common Chess Games Play by Computer series. Here's the link of our playlist, and if you like this content, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. See you soon with some more videos, and what to say, chess is the best, of course.